You just hit $20,000 saved. And I want to be honest with you. Most people who reach that number are about to make a mistake that quietly sets them back years. Not because they're reckless, not because they're bad with money, but because nobody ever told them what this moment actually demands from them. So today, that changes. This is exactly what to do after $20,000 saved. The right sequence, in the right order, for where you actually are right now. Here's the thing about $20,000. It's a real number. It means you have discipline. It means you've been intentional. But it also puts you at a crossroads because $20,000 is just enough money to either build serious long-term wealth or to feel like you've made it and quietly unravel everything you worked for. Most people hit this number and think the hard part is over. It isn't. The hard part is deciding what comes next without letting emotion drive the call. And that's exactly what we're going to walk through today, step by step. Step 1. Know what you're actually working with. Before you do anything with $20,000, you need to know exactly what you're looking at, not just the balance in your account, your full financial picture. That means writing down every debt you have, car payments, student loans, any personal loans, credit card balances, every single one, with the balance and the payment amount. Then, write down your monthly expenses, rent, food, utilities, transport, subscriptions, everything. Why? Because $20,000 looks very different depending on your situation. For one person, it's 3 months of expenses. For another, it's 18 months. And the strategy that makes sense for one person can be completely wrong for another if they skip this step. Once you have that full picture, you move to step 2. And this one surprises people. Step 2. Clear any bad debt first. I know what you want to hear. You want to hear invest it all immediately. But if you have debt on things that are losing value, car loans, personal loans, credit card balances, that debt is quietly working against everything you're trying to build. Here's why this matters more than most people realize. When you owe money on something that's going down in value, you're paying for something twice. Once when you lose the value of the asset, and again every month in payments. You're essentially running on a treadmill, you're putting in effort, but you're not actually moving forward. Now, not all debt is equal. A mortgage on a property that's building equity is different from a car loan on a vehicle worth half what you paid. The distinction is simple. Debt on things going up in value is a tool. Debt on things going down in value is a drain. With your $20,000, prioritize eliminating the drain. If you wipe out $8,000 in bad debt, you haven't spent $8,000. You've freed up a monthly obligation and redirected future cash flow toward building, not bleeding. That shift compounds over time in ways most people completely underestimate. Step 3. Lock in a fully funded emergency reserve. Once bad debt is gone, this is non-negotiable. You need a proper emergency fund sitting in a liquid, accessible account before you deploy a single dollar into investments. For most people, that's somewhere between 3 and 6 months of living expenses. If your monthly essentials run $2,500, you're looking at $7,500 to $15,000 set aside specifically for emergencies. Not for investment opportunities, not for a trip, not for an upgrade, just for life happening. This isn't a pessimistic move. It's the opposite. The emergency fund is what keeps your investments intact. Without it, the first unexpected expense, a medical bill, a car repair, a job change, forces you to liquidate at the worst possible time or take on new debt. With it, you can stay the course no matter what. Where should this money live? A high-yield savings account, something safe, FDIC insured, and accessible within a day or two. Not in a checking account earning nothing. The goal is to have it working modestly while remaining completely liquid. Once that reserve is fully funded, you've built a foundation. Now you're ready to actually grow. Step 4. Increase what you're consistently putting in. Here's the truth that most people skip over when they talk about building wealth. The variable you control most is not your return rate. It's how much you're consistently contributing. You cannot control whether the market returns 7% this year or 11%. You cannot control inflation, interest rate decisions, or what happens in the global economy. But you can absolutely control how much of your income you're directing toward your future every single month. After hitting $20,000, the next milestone isn't just about what you do with the lump sum, it's about building the habit of consistent, increasing contributions. If you've been saving 10% of your income, challenge yourself to get to 15%. If you get a raise, don't let lifestyle quietly absorb it. Let it accelerate your savings rate instead. This is where most people stall. They save a lump sum, feel accomplished, and then coast. The ones who actually build wealth treat saving as a permanent, escalating habit, not a one-time sprint. Step 5. Put your money to work in the right vehicles. Now for the part everyone wants to get to. You've cleared bad debt, you have your emergency fund, and you're contributing consistently. What do you actually do with the money you're investing? Start with tax-advantaged accounts. Depending on your situation, this could be a retirement account through your employer, especially if there's any employer match available, because that's an immediate, guaranteed return you shouldn't leave on the table. Beyond that, look at what tax-advantaged options exist for your country and income level. In many places, there are accounts specifically designed to let your investments grow without the drag of taxes eating into compounding year after year. Inside those accounts, keep it simple and proven. Broad market index funds, funds that track the overall performance of hundreds or thousands of companies, have consistently outperformed the overwhelming majority of actively managed funds over the long term. Not because they're exciting, but because they're efficient. Low fees, broad diversification, and zero need to guess which individual companies will win. The core strategy is this: buy the market, keep costs low, contribute consistently, and don't touch it. That's not a beginner strategy. That's what the data says works. Step 6. Diversify beyond just paper assets. Once you've established consistent contributions into index-based investments and your foundation is solid, think about what else could be growing your net worth in parallel. Real estate is the most common avenue, and for good reason. Property that generates income builds equity over time and produces cash flow in the present. It also tends to hold up well against inflation, because as the cost of living rises, so does what people pay to live somewhere. The point isn't to chase one specific asset class. It's to understand that having multiple types of assets working in different directions reduces your vulnerability to any single market having a bad year. If one part of your portfolio dips, another may hold steady or even rise. Diversification isn't just about having lots of things. It's about having things that don't all move the same way at the same time. Step 7. Invest in yourself. Seriously, this one gets left off most financial lists, but it might be the highest return move available to you right now. Your income is the engine of everything. Every investment, every savings contribution, every financial goal, it all starts with how much you're earning. A professional certification, a new skill, a course that opens the door to a higher paying role. These aren't expenses. They're investments with returns that can dwarf anything the market delivers in the short term. If you can spend $500 to $2,000 on education that puts you in a position to earn $15,000 more per year, the math is obvious. And unlike market returns, the return on a skill is largely within your control. So as you think about where to allocate your $20,000, ask yourself, is there a skill, a credential, or a career move I could invest in right now that would permanently raise my earning power? Here's the full sequence one more time, clean and simple. First, map your complete financial picture: income, expenses, every debt. Second, eliminate bad debt on depreciating assets. Third, fully fund your emergency reserve in a liquid safe account. Fourth, increase your consistent savings and contribution rate. Fifth, invest in tax-advantaged accounts using low-cost, broad index funds. Sixth, gradually diversify into other asset types like real estate. And seventh, invest in your own skills and earning power. That's it. No secret formula. No complexity for complexity's sake. Just a clear sequence that puts your $20,000 in the best possible position and sets you up to keep building from here. The people who end up financially free aren't the ones who found the best stock tip or timed the market perfectly. They're the ones who followed a simple, consistent process and didn't quit when it felt slow. Because wealth doesn't announce itself every month. It compounds quietly, and then one day it's undeniable. You've already done the hard part of saving $20,000. Now the question is whether you're going to let it be a one-time accomplishment or the launch pad for everything that comes after. That choice is yours. Make it count.